Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's late on a Saturday night, but the FPL deadlines don't rest, so what better way to finish the day than with Neale for the injury news, or perhaps lack of injury news, because there haven't been many non-embargoed press conferences, so most of them were done in the midweek. But Neale, how are you doing? You still awake?
Yeah, struggling. It's quite hard these turnarounds, isn't it? As much as anything else, it's as you said there, to get any kind of team news. This is always the worst one of the year after Boxing Day because I think we've had maybe three standalone press conferences. I think Ange one, didn't he, and Daesh. Um, but most of them have been embargoed from Boxing Day, and even then, the questions were not always about team news. Probably about half of them we didn't get any sort of team news updates from. So we'll
Yep.
give you what we can, but just bear in mind there's probably a lot of stuff that hasn't been reported yet. That might just only become apparent on the 29th or 30th.
Yep. And then, of course, there's a game next Wednesday, so
There is, yeah. So yeah, yeah,
luckily
that's right.
they'll probably have presses next week, but they did sort of speak last night, so we'll be able to get a little bit from Arsenal and Brentford.
Yeah, I know that Arteta is actually embargoed until New Year's Eve. The rest of that section, so he's not even doing a standalone one for that Brentford game. So, but then, as you said, he did give us updates on Saka and Sterling, so that's good.
Yeah. So let's crack on then. Leicester City is game one, 2:30. So that's a deadline of one, which is a very strange deadline. But yeah, don't get caught out with that. So yeah, Leicester.
Yeah, Van Nistelrooy said he hoped that Vardy would be back for this one, just a minor injury kept them out of the Boxing Day game. But apart from that, it's not good. McAteer, Fatau, and Didi Pereira are still on the injury list. Mads Hermansen's going to need more time as well to recover from his groin injury. Wood Fice is doubtful as well. And now Jordan Ayew is suspended. So it sounds like Vardy is the only one they're going to recover, if that.
Yep. And then yeah, the backup keeper. You can have a go at pronouncing his name, but he came back. So and expect he'll continue.
Yeah, he's definitely deputy Hermansen, but he's a step up from Ward. That is not in question.
Yeah. And then Pep, as I said on the screen, there was no team news, so we're kind of guessing.
Yeah, I mean, you're guessing at the best of times, aren't you? But even more so this week. So yeah, he did tell us in the aftermath of that Everton game that Walker was ill and that Grealish had suffered muscular discomfort in training, which is why they both missed out. But the rest of them, he didn't give us any updates on. So nothing new on Nunes, Edison, or John Stones, who all missed out. Diaz, Rodri, and Bob obviously longer term. So yeah, could be anything tomorrow. But it is the early kickoff, so we might get a heads up.
Yeah. Cool. Crystal Palace against Southampton. Glasner telling us who's going to replace Mark Gahey, who's suspended.
Yeah, Chris Richards is obviously the one of the deputies and played a lot last season when Glasner first came in. They have got Chadi Riyad as well, but he's just come back from a long injury and he's just played for the under-21s. So yeah, as you said there, he's out suspended. Frank Wharton injured. Will Hughes is going to be assessed as well. He hobbled out of that Bournemouth game with a knock to his knee. So they were assessing him before Sunday's game. Sorry.
Cool. And then Southampton. Yeah, Southampton.
Much the same again. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of this. Nothing on the TV's front from Zurich in the embargoed section, but in the previous section, which wasn't embargoed, he did say that Jack Stevens was out injured. He'd just come back from a four-match ban, but he picked up an injury training, out for a couple of weeks. Larios Stewart Bazuno injured. We have seen Will Smallbone in training, so he could be back, being pictured on the training ground this week. And as we discussed in our previous video, Maxwell Corney is available again, having been unable to face his parent club in game week 18.
Yeah, I did see that the manager was talking about Onuachu, if that's the right word, because he's 4.9. But he also said that in some
Yeah,
games Archer will be the solution. So
he did. Yeah, you see, he could in some games he'd play two up top, in some games he'd just be Archer. He also said that Diblin was rested because he was tired. He had looked tired in recent weeks, so and he made a bit of an impact when he came on. So possibly he'll be back in the lineup this weekend.
yeah, Yeah, because I was interested in that 4.9 forward very briefly, but
Yeah,
they've got a few
not many of them
forwards.
under fivers. Daka obviously played last weekend, but that was just because Vardy was out. But
Yeah,
he did look good up until the point of putting the ball in the net, like 8 shots for them, like sitter of headers. But at least he's a presence.
yeah. Moving on to Everton Forest. Sorry, I didn't know which one was coming up there. Everton touch and go again for Dwight McNeil.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like he's going to miss out. Because when Vice says that, it does tend to mean glass half full. Sorry. Not just McNeil. Garner and Burnham are out, of course, and Dye and Coleman, they were both taken off. Precautionary withdrawals, it sounded more like, but even tightness in the calf with 72 hours of turnaround time, even less than that, you do sort of wonder whether he'll be risked. He is the sort of talisman at the moment, and Dye scored a very good goal against City. Coleman will obviously drop out anyway because Ashley Young is back from a ban, so you'd assume Young will come in at right back, but and Dye is the doubt.
Yeah, and then Forest, same old with them.
Yeah, Danilo Sangare, both out still, long-term injuries. Danilo's back in training, but not fit enough. One in and one out on the suspension front. So Dominguez is back from a one-match ban, but Ryan Yates won't be involved because he has picked up his fifth booking of the season.
Cool, nice and straightforward. Fulham against Bournemouth. We haven't had anything from Bournemouth, I don't think, unless you correct me. No.
Nope.
So just Fulham and Smith Rowe.
Yeah, he's still a concern. Silva said that they were going to take a decision. It will be today about whether he's going to be involved or not. Still sounds in some doubt. And he also said that the other players are going to be in the same situation. So that might mean Sander Berger misses out again. He was absent in game week 18 with an ankle injury. Nothing new though, according to Silva. So it's just the longer term ones, Tete, Nelson, and Harrison Reed that are out as well.
Cool. And then Bournemouth, there's nothing. I mean, we haven't heard, but there was nothing nothing new on
No,
Boxing Day.
I do. Yeah, we are filming this on Saturday night at about 9:45. Now we do have the Magic 10:30 slot still to come. I wonder if we'll get some more dribbled team news coming out at 10:30 from the likes of Newcastle and Bournemouth, Brighton maybe as well. So I'll obviously update the site when that happens, but nothing from them yet. However, again, in the aftermath of that Crystal Palace match, Iraola said that he wasn't expecting anyone to be back. So Smith, Sinisterra, Scott, Araujo, Senesi, Tavernier are all out. They're also going to be without Clive as well. He's picked up his fifth booking of the season, so he's suspended for one match.
Any idea about penalties?
Well, Evan Nielsen was in the mix last day, and he took one and missed earlier in the season. And afterwards, Iraola said that those two would be, kind of on duty going forward. But Clive was definitely first in line out beyond that point. He's got a great record since then. But I do wonder whether Evan Nielsen would chance his arm again, and he will obviously start. He'll come
Yeah.
back in because he was benched for Enes Unal on Boxing Day, but he will come back in for this one, I'm sure.
Yep. Moving on to Spurs. Wolves, gets worse and worse for Spurs.
Yeah, if you've got Cunha and if you don't act in the next 15 hours or so, then you obviously start him. He's in the scout picks actually this week. That's how confident we are. Not only are they still without Romero, Van der Ven, Odegaard, Vicario, Richarlison and more, they will return to training next week, but they're still out. Ben Davies has had a setback in training. He could have come into this, but it's the same hamstring thing again. Jed Spence is unavailable. He had been playing actually quite well, but he's got to serve a one-match ban after being red carded. And on top of that, Dragosan, who had been playing, is going to have to be assessed. He tweaked his ankle in the game against who were they playing? Forest. And Ange said yesterday that they were going to have to wait and see. But such a quick turnaround. It could be Archie Gray alongside where it was Basuma at the end of the game on Boxing Day. So it could be. And even Ange said after the game, he said, "I don't know why I put him there because he's never played centre half before." So even he wasn't sure himself. I don't know if they've got anybody else who could. Bentancur, I heard talk of that possibly happening. Porro even going to centre half and someone coming in at right back. But they've got any other right backs. So yeah, it'll be a real positive back line.
Yeah, I guess that might mean Maddison starts if Basuma's at centre back.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he was. I think he would have started anyway. This is just a regular rotation. It was almost signposted because he'd started 4 games in a row, and Hanj has been rotating pretty much everybody in December, whether it be in the league or the cup. Kulusevski even got a bench in earlier in December in the league. Um, Son is on the longest run. If you're a Son owner, he is now assumed the precarious position of being on the longest run of consecutive starts without a bench, so maybe he is in line. He has looked a bit jaded. So you
Yeah,
never know.
if Ange wants to play Werner again, but yeah, we'll see about that.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he could play Bergvall in midfield, um, with Benton, Kerr, and Sarr, and then have Kulusevski and Johnson on the flanks, maybe. Um, but yeah, I am very much speculating, which is I am doing a lot of at this time of night on a game week 19.
Yeah, moving on to Wolves, the big one, the headline. Cunha, we haven't heard from an official channel, so therefore he remains free to play as of quarter to
Yep.
10 on Saturday. And I really can't imagine something's going to come out on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be amazed if that happens. Did get some interesting quotes from Pereira, actually. He did say they were preparing for life without Cunha, um, in terms of a ban, not in terms of going in the transfer market. But he did say they were working on, alternatives to playing the 10. So it sounds like, even though, I mean, I don't know if they've answered with a strong defence, but maybe they're resigned to the fact that he is going to get banned. So Pereira was basically saying that yesterday, that he's um, working with other players to, understand what we want without the ball, with the ball, etc. But as far as we know, he's good for this one. He also hoped to have Lamina available. He missed out with a small injury last time out. Sarabia could return as well. Oh, sorry, not this time. After Tottenham, he said. So that's next week for game week 20. And I think Mosquera, Traore, Kalajic, and Gonzalez are the other red flagged Wolves players.
Yeah. I mean, with Cunha, you'd think it's going to be like 4 or 5 games. So they
I would think
probably,
so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, could have got 2 on top of his 3, didn't he?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I would. Yeah, 4 or 5 would be, if that's the precedent.
Yeah, I've got money for Isak as and when. But I'm not
Good.
moving this week. This could
No,
could
if
be
you got
fun.
both, you're absolutely fine. Yeah, yeah, it could. Yeah, yeah, we got both of them in scout picks actually this week because we think I mean, their respective opposition defenses are absolute pony at the moment, aren't they? United as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, it could be a big one if you've got both of them.
for sure. Speaking of defensive issues, West Ham problems. Max Kilman
Yeah,
going to be a big loss if he's out.
yeah. Lopetegui said after that match that he wasn't optimistic on Kilman or Fabianski. Fabianski went off with a head injury or neck injury. He was treated a lot on the turf. I think 7 minutes he had medical treatment. He was stretchered off. He had oxygen on his way out. He wasn't hospitalised in the end, and he did actually take his place on the bench very much later in the game. But it was a concussion sub, and I'd be absolutely astounded if they've managed to wriggle their way out of the protocol uh, for this one so soon after it. I think 6 days is the minimum. 12 days it can go on for. So those two are doubts. Soler's a doubt as well. He came off in half time with a knee injury. Antonio's obviously out. Rodriguez and Souček, they're suspended. 5 yellow cards again. So they really are short of bodies. They do get Paquetá back after a one-match ban, but he hasn't really actually been that good this season. Spoken to quite a few West Ham fans who say he's basically just not half the player he was. So that is not the boost it would have been in the past.
No, for sure. And then Antonio is obviously out
And Antonio, yeah,
indefinitely. Yeah. So yeah, you'd think
definitely lower
Areola.
leg. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mariola will probably come in and for the next 2 game weeks, I would think, and then beyond that, we'll see who Lopetegui favours.
Yeah. And then Liverpool, interesting quote on Jota.
Yes, he said, yeah, he was talking about the bench in game week 18, and he says we're still managing his fitness. He hasn't been able to train that much because the team haven't been training that much in between games, coming so thick and fast. So he said something as if a player's an injury, he can do a lot, but he couldn't do a lot for quite a long time. It's not easy to come out of injury after 2 months out and play from the start again. So you need to have some minutes to build this up. So he did say he's coming close to starting again, but there's a lot more element of doubt than there was even a few days ago when you thought he'd get these 2 game weeks. It's not even certain he'll get one because Diaz is rested and he'll come back in almost certainly. Salah's obviously nailed, and it's whether and Darwin will drop out. So it's basically, I think, Jota versus Gakpo. Gakpo started like 4 in a row in all competitions, and usually that's an indication that he'll get a rest. But there was been quotes from Slot discussing Diaz as a 9 again, and Diaz did an interview with Will. Tip me up on this. Will, one of our colleagues, did an interview with Colombian TV, I think, saying he's been retraining or training part time as a 9. So it could be Gakpo and Diaz again tomorrow with Jota on the bench.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty. That front line, I think, unless you're called Salah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who could reach the 200 points mark this weekend, unbelievably, if he gets a 14-point haul against West Ham, which he's definitely capable of.
Yeah, don't say that.
Other Liverpool team news.
I might captain Palmer. I might captain Palmer.
He's if you weren't aware of the past exploits in recent weeks, you captain Palmer, I think, but Salah's like, I can't back against him at the moment. Play my cap. Actually, the Liverpool team news, by the way, it's pretty quiet. Canati and Bradley are still out. Could be back thereafter. We'll see. Szoboszlai's banned as well. 5 yellow cards yet again.
Yeah. So will that be Jones coming in?
Szoboszlai was actually benched in the last one. Maybe they were
he was.
hoping he wouldn't get that 5th yellow. He came on and promptly got booked straight away. So yeah, they have got Elliott, who's back, but I don't know if Slot really trusts him yet. He did have quite a good pre-season, but yeah, Jones, McAllister, and Gravenberg you'd think start this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to Monday's games, I haven't got anything from Brighton, although I have seen that Welbeck is unlikely to be back. I saw that in The Athletic yesterday, but you can talk about that. Yeah, do you want to do Brighton quickly? Anything?
Yeah, as you said there, we've not got anything new. Some might come up in the next half an hour, but yeah, as you said there, Welbeck's still much a big doubt. I think Milner, Kadioglu, and Hinshelwood as well, the longer term ones. Matt Sweefer, Hurtler previously said ahead of game week 18 that he didn't think it was serious. It's a quad injury, but he didn't feature. Solly March did, back in training, and he was on the bench, came on as a sub. Adam Webster's the next one off the rank. I think he's back in full training as well, and is possibly an option for the bench.
Cool. And then Villa could be. Do we know that Duran is out now because the red card was rejected, the appeal was rejected, so it'll be Watkins for 2 games. And then anything else? Yeah,
Matty Cash is suspended as well. 5 yellow cards, so that's 2 red flags. But in terms of injuries, they've got almost nothing. Jacob Ramsey's been out since I think the beginning of November, but even he's back in training now. And Emery said he could be back in the matchday squad on Monday.
Cool. A few people saying in the chat about Diaz and like family issues. I did read because his father was ill. Do you think that had anything to do?
His dad is ill, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, he was on the bench.
Yeah.
Like, would he have even been on the bench if there was something, would he have not been back home?
Yeah.
If there was something serious. But yeah, I mean, I did see that. But I've not heard any sort of
I mean, if you're in the squad, you're probably
exactly.
Yeah. If they were losing 2-0, I'm sure it would have come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Moving on to Ipswich Chelsea. I didn't see anything from Ipswich, but we do know that last night Greaves was back. He came in. I think they played a back 3, unless I read that team wrong. But
yeah, it was kind of that hybrid system, wasn't it? So you had like O'Shea like a right back / right-sided centre half, and then Wolford and Greaves as the 2 centre backs, and then Ben Johnson was playing as like that right wing back sort of hybrid. But it seemed to did quite well. I mean, they kept Arsenal at bay for the most part. Still think Burgess could come back in actually if you're a Greaves owner.
Yeah, that
did this the last time there was a 3 game. Yeah, it did. Yeah, and Greaves wasn't after. I mean, like Wolfen had a good game, or she had a good game, but it was possibly the slightly weaker link, even though he wasn't terrible by any stretch. So yes, of what we know, there is sorry, Hurst and Twanzebe out. Massimo Luongo has been ill all of December and he hasn't featured, but they do get Sam Morsey back from suspension.
Cool. Yeah, so Greaves probably not. I mean, he's only 3'9", so I guess if he starts the next 2 games, 3 in a week, he'll be. You'd probably safely say he's back in the team, but
Yeah.
we'll have to see. And then Chelsea, bit going on there. I'll have to see what you think first, but well, you do the injury first, and then you can say how much rotation you think there's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as much as last time, but yeah, injury wise, Badiashile and Fofana obviously out. Reece James is back, isn't he, on the grass? But Maresca previously said it doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be considered for first team selection anytime soon. Lavia has been training. He's the one who's probably the closest to actually featuring. We're not sure if it's because we haven't had an update. We're not sure whether the game will come too soon or whether he's actually fit enough to be back in the squad. Apart from that, obviously Mudrik's suspended by the FA. Maresca did confirm that Madueke's omission and that of Renato Vega as well, they were technical, but did say that they could come back in the equation for Ipswich. So now it's a case of how much rotation. So he did say they would change something for definite. And he mentioned 1 change, 2 change, or 3 changes. Whether he's just thinking of capping it at that, or whether he will at full Southampton. I don't think he will go as manic as he did at Southampton. He hasn't really got anybody. He hasn't really got the numbers to do it. Despite people might think of the Chelsea squad, I think he's not got as many trusted lieutenants in the reserve. I mean, he only made 1 sub, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the bench as well. There was a few kids on there. It's not obviously
exactly.
big squad.
2 goalies, Bettinelli and was on there. So when you sort of cut away all the surplus of requirements figures like Chilwell and Chukwuemeka and people like that, and then out of favour like Madueke, if he is out of favour, there's not a great deal. However, he does still have 1 or 2 options up his sleeve. So Joao Felix, I think, is probably
he'll play on
the best chance of
for Sancho.
Yeah, exactly. Who's looked a little bit off. You can tell me more than Anaka, but what I've seen, and he's been underused of late. Joao Felix. Gusto hasn't been great either, so that you could see. I think probably a bit too early for what's his name, Josh
Achampong.
Achampong, yeah.
I'd like to see it because he's obviously a genuine right back as opposed to Disasi, but
yeah,
it would surprise me, to be fair.
Yeah, Disasi could come in as he did a couple of game weeks ago at right back. Yeah. If Lavia's fit, I guess Caicedo could go there and invert. Yeah, we don't know if Lavia's fit.
I think that would be the preferred. Yeah. Like you could see like Felix, Lavia, and Disasi coming in for Tosin, Gusto, and Sancho, and then Madueke for Neto. I think is something he'll want to do. But I mean, allegedly, they were late to a team meeting, is what I've heard. So that makes sense because they were both behind him on the bench, so they weren't like ill or. And it wouldn't be tactical because why would you put Bettinelli on the bench instead of Madueke? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they had people who were never going to get on. I mean, was Tyreek George on the bench as well, and people like that. Yeah, so how soon will they get off the notice? I can imagine them being back in the squad, but maybe not starting. I don't know, but it's So that's another one. If he doesn't start either of those, then that's 2 more rotation options down. There is the spectre of rotation hanging over Jackson as well.
I just can't see it. We're just a bad football team. Like we're a worse. No, I tell you, we're not a bad team. We're a worse football team with Jackson not in it.
Yeah. Like I mean, I've read a lot of testimonies like that, and when Cunha came on.
Yeah, because he just doesn't hold it up or run in behind or out the box. He's not a very good footballer compared to Jackson.
Whether you need that against, well, he did say that last year against. Whether you need that against Ipswich, would he sort of sacrifice those qualities that Jackson brings because it's Ipswich? I mean, they're not as bad as Southampton.
It's only if Jackson's
Um,
tired. I don't really see why he would do
he
it just
did
for the sake of it, which
he
he did
he
say
did
that, yeah.
actually he did say that, yeah, a little bit tight. He said, and that was the only reason he made that one sub. So I've currently gone without him, but in the very much provisional predictor lineups. But
Yeah,
that could change. I will be flying in the face of the jump the wave predictions. I think I've gone about 85% Jackson or something like that,
yeah.
maybe even more. Uh, but
I can
we'll
tell
see
you
if
as
I
a
stick to my
fan,
guns over.
I really hope Jackson starts. But
Yeah, I think a lot of users are saying that, aren't they? So we'll
yeah,
see
we'll
what he
see.
does.
We'll see. And Dewsbury Hall is also injured. Not that
Yes, he is.
would have
Yeah.
troubled
Thanks for telling us. Yeah,
anyone. Um, but yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
the
right.
Sanchez, I can't see it. But I know Jorgensen played Southampton, but it's just that last goal,
He
like
did.
it came from Sanchez's long kick when he probably should have
Yeah,
passed it short. So whether he wants to punish, but I mean, he's posted like happy training photos tonight on Instagram, so
yeah.
I think he'll probably be fine. But yeah, let's move on. Man United, Newcastle. A couple of bad suspensions for United.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes. Just the one match though, in case you were wondering. He did get red carded earlier in the season, and normally when you get red carded twice in the same campaign, you get an extra match on top of what the suspension is. But that first red card was rescinded. That doesn't count anymore. So it's just a one match ban, two bookable offences. He'll be back in game week 20. Same with Agati, although it was a different reason. It was five yellow cards, again, a one match suspension. The only injuries we're aware about are Mount, Shaw, and Lindelof. But again, we haven't had any update from Amorim. De Ligt was back on the bench after illness against Wolves.
Cool. And then Newcastle, I haven't seen a press conference, but Livramento was ill. And Trippier
Yeah,
limped off as well, didn't he?
he did. Yeah, Howe said after that he was hoping it was just fatigue with Trippier. Um, we'll see if that amounts to anything. Livramento was ill, and Howe was optimistic that he'd be back for this one. That is the only real area of uncertainty because Botman, obviously, if he does make the squad and he's nearly there, he'll be on the bench for sure. Kraft, Lascelles, Pope, and Wilson still out, and we've been winning so handsomely of late that he's been able to take players off early. Like he's done that quite a lot. Like Murphy getting subbed on the hour or 70 minutes. Isak in a couple of games has come off sharp. Gordon as well. So I think as long as the momentum's with us and we are able to do that, I think it'll be mostly unchanged again.
Yeah. Yeah, that us on non-Isak owners are not going to get the Osula start.
No, this is no Wilson Isak rotation of last season.
Yeah.
No, Asula's, even if we were down to if Isak was ruled out for 6 months, it would be Gordon playing through the middle. Asula
Yeah.
coming on for the last 7 minutes. So yeah, Isak's going to start.
Yeah, of course. And then the final game, not till New Year's Day, this one, but we heard from Frank and Arteta last night, and they both gave a few lines. So we'll start with Arsenal because that's a bit more straightforward. Saka out for a bit longer.
Yeah, we knew he was red flagged and he wasn't going to be back for weeks, but it's going to be more than 2 months by the sounds of it. He's undergone a procedure this week on his hamstring, and Arteta, unusually for him, was quite forthcoming, and he said it will be more than 2 months. He doesn't know how much more longer than that, but it will be February at the probably March actually, but at the latest, at the earliest. Sorry. Sterling, the prognosis is better. I think they'd rather have that the other way around. Sterling out for 2 months and Saka back up quicker. But it has not been as serious as what they thought. Has evolved well in the last few days. So that's good according to Marteta. Apart from that, White and Tomiyasu have been out a while, but Zinchenko was back in the squad on Friday after a recent layoff of his own.
Cool. Yeah, so Jesus started, Havertz midfield again, Trossard,
Yeah,
Martinelli. I mean, it's possible. There was sort of a consensus that Jesus was kind of like always one blank away from potentially being
yeah,
dropped. So
yeah.
I guess it could be partying for Jesus or
It could
same.
be. It could be. Yeah, they could play him in a different role. I mean, he did mention. Arteta did mention him as a possibility on the right whenever Saka's out. He did mention like a cluster of other players as well, like Havertz and even in one in area as well. So he could come in for Trossard, who's not been great. He never is.
Who played right last night?
Martinelli.
Mine, yeah.
Yeah. So Martinelli could go over the left again. You and Jesus on the right, Havertz to the middle. I don't think you'll do that Havertz in the middle in a game like Brentford. I might be wrong. Brentford at home are pretty formidable, or were until that Forest game. So I
Yeah,
wonder whether he'll go a bit more, like conservative and go with Partey and Rice and Odegaard in the middle, um, which leaves, like sort of three from or four players competing for three slots up top.
yeah. And then finally, it might not really matter who Arsenal pick because Brentford are down to the
Yeah.
proper bare bones.
Oh, they are.
So yeah, you do the so do the new news. So Flecken and Ben Mee from last night.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, we haven't got much of an update because Thomas Frank said it was just too soon to assess them after the game. Obviously, we have no press conference since. You already said what he hoped the injuries weren't bad, but um, yeah, I mean they've got an extra, what is it, 5 days till the game, so a bit of a longer turnaround. But if it is muscular, then obviously some doubt there. I did see a reporter saying that Flecken was limping as he walked through the tunnel after the game, but he wasn't on crutches. If that's a good sign or not, and hopefully. Um, Christopher Ayer, Pinnock, De Silva, Thiago, Hickey, Henry, Nunez all injured as well. So too were Vandenberg and Jensen, but Frank did previously say that those two were the closest of recovering. Vandenberg's injury wasn't serious. So they possibly could feature, but again, we're not going to know for sure until probably New Year's Eve.
Yeah. So I mean, worst case, that's like Lewis Potter, Collins, the Kim. I don't know his
Yeah,
surname, and then Roslev, isn't it?
yeah, or they might go a five if they don't want to sort of expose Kim, in a two and play Janelt there or Norgard there. They both played there in the past. Um, and bring who's the Ukrainian lad, Yarmolyuk, I think his name is, in the midfield. So you could do that, but yeah, they really are struggling.
Yeah, for sure. So that concludes all 10 games. Thank you very much, Neale, for the late night shift. Deserve some time off, I think. Deserve to do Christmas.
Yeah, I've got some coming up after today, so I'm going to make the most of it.
Good stuff. But yeah, so if you're listening on the podcast, it will be Sunday morning. So check out the website, and it's possible we'll have Newcastle, Brighton, Bournemouth, and another team. I forgot Ipswich. There you go. We haven't
Yeah,
had yet. But yeah, all the predicted lineups will be on site. Cunha is not banned as of 10:15 on Saturday, so check that one final time tomorrow. But not expecting anything, and Saka is out for a long, long time, unfortunately, for Arsenal. So yeah, thank you very much, Neale.
thanks, Tom. Yeah, I will speak to you in about a week's time, or Joe if he's back
Yeah,
then.
back to
But yeah,
normal schedule next week. So
happy New Year to everybody.
yeah, perfect. Best of luck for